Do you wonder how to get your little one to speak? A dad asked me about his 1-year-old who is not saying words. After observing his interaction with his family through many mini videos he shared, I was able to show him how to tweak what he was already doing really well. That little tweak helped the dad focus on what his child was saying through behavior. It was right in front of his eyes, but because his eyes were not trained to see the opportunity for language expansion, he missed it. He's like so many awesome fathers that are my clients. Once he knew, he jumped on board, knowing exactly how to make a difference for his child. Does your child have a speech-language delay and you really want them to talk? Do difficult behaviors derail home life and you know the frustration is a communication struggle? Does your child see a speech therapist and you wonder, what do they do and how can I help? If these or similar questions are in your mind, this podcast is for you. Hello, my name is Dinalynn Rosenbusch. I am a speech-language pathologist that has worked with children from birth to 21 for 3 decades. And in my classrooms, I see you wanting to connect with the heart of your child, but their speech and language skills create a barrier. So if you have a kiddo that has difficult behaviors, needs to expand their language or learn to say speech sounds, and maybe even receives speech therapy, stay tuned, because in this podcast, you will learn how to use your daily life as a tool to communication practice and how to do that practice. You will become confident knowing you are making the difference you want to make. And you will hear success stories of parents who have navigated these struggles already. We'll do this all while focusing on building deep, meaningful connection and confidence in your kiddo. So grab a cup of coffee along with a notebook and pen. It's time to speak in the way your child's brain understands. And that is the language of play. Today's story is super common among the parents that I work with. As you listen, you may think, hey, that's me. If you do, and you want support like the dad in today's story, then email me at hello@thelanguageofplay.com and we can have a conversation about how we can work together. Today, I will tell you a true story. Well, I guess I always tell you true stories because the stories that I have are common to so many parents. Anyway, here we go. A dad asked me about his 1-year-old who was not saying words. And I was really glad that this dad had many short video snippets of his 1-year-old to share with me, and I got to see some really good parenting. He sent me videos of him interacting with his child. I saw how he loves his child. And I also saw where the dad was missing the child's request for words. He knew what the child wanted, for the most part, but he did not see his child bidding for help with learning. The child was silently asking for him to give language to him. Now, as a speech pathologist, we are well trained to assess how children are communicating, the language that they understand, as well as the language that they express. After pointing out what I saw in the videos, this compassionate and caring dad felt terrible. He realized he'd been missing it. This is where I'm going to pause the story for just a moment because I want to give us some teachable moments. Remember, we all do the best that we know how to do. And when we don't know, we remain doing the best we know how to do. This dad, like all parents I know, expected themselves to know. But here's what the dad did really, really right, and you might find yourself in this. First, number 1, he asked for some guidance. When he realized that his 1-year-old wasn't really talking, he got some help. He asked questions. His child isn't delayed. But he let go of his pride along the way, and he asked for the support that he needed because he realized he didn't know how to teach speech, and he didn't know how to teach language. The second thing he did really right was that he was open to learning, and he was open to being seen. When we looked at the videos of his interaction with his child, that's vulnerable. He chose to trust me, and that made all the difference. The third thing he did is when he saw where he could improve, he took it in. Now, the downside of taking it in means we're realizing that we've missed the boat on something, and it's probably a fair number of times. And that is a terrible feeling when you really, really want everything good for your child, and you want to be the best for your child. And oftentimes this means some self-judgment. And that's a struggly place to be. So we talked about his work and how I would not know how to do his work, but that doesn't mean I'm a bad worker. It means I simply have to learn the skills in order to do it better. And this is the same with parenting. Whatever part of parenting you're doing in your parenting journey. For example, if you have medical needs, people tend to allow themselves to learn as they go without much self-judgment. They don't have the expectation that they're going to know that. Maybe your stage in the journey is dealing with toileting or feeding or whatever it is. But what's interesting is that when kids have learning needs, parents seem to think that they're supposed to know this stuff. But please remember, there are many fields, whole fields of study related to your child's learning and development. This isn't common knowledge. These are fields of study. And since you're listening to this podcast, I suspect you want to learn more about speech development and language development. You want to know how to communicate and connect better with your child. And I'm really glad you're here. I hope that you let go of self-judgment that has expectation on yourself for things that you simply don't know yet. Let's resume the story. This dad separated from our conversation, knowing when his child's behavior is a request for information. He also had 2 books and 2 toys and a strategy of how to use them to build his child's knowledge and expression. And I was so happy for this dad because he was so eager to do the work in the next few days. And a few days later, he excitedly communicated with me, seemingly surprised that it was working. My thought was, of course it's working. When you teach in the way a child's brain understands, it works. That's why I love teaching parents this. It's so fun. This dad was now experiencing his child silently initiating these interactions with him, with toys, and dad learned how to see it. He learned to respond as if his child was intending to communicate, which began turn-taking with the child. And pretty soon, this child was using approximate words. And in speech pathology, we call those sounds that kids make in the right place that kind of sounds like a word, we call those approximations. A few more days later, the dad let me know that he recognized several words and more sounds were present. He got on course and they have a fun road ahead. I loved seeing how much his confidence blossomed. And as the dad's confidence blossomed, so did his interaction, which meant so did his child's speech. So now let's finish out the teachable moment. The fourth thing this dad did really right was that he did not withdraw when he felt badly. Instead, he became grateful and he took the guidance and did it. And the fifth thing was that this dad celebrated. He celebrated the small wins. And he will end up with big wins when he stacks up these many small wins. And in celebrating, his child learns exactly what dad wants. This is speaking in a way the child's brain understands. So let's summarize what this dad did right And you can too. Number 1, ask for guidance in the area that you're not strong. 2, be open to learning and being seen. It's vulnerable, but choose to trust your help. Number 3, when you see where to improve, take it in. And number 4, don't stop if you feel badly. Remember to be grateful and do the next thing. And number 5, celebrate. Celebrate every small win. It clearly shows the child what is wanted. Plus, a big win is really many, many small wins stacked up. I hope you found this episode helpful, and I would love to hear your thoughts. Hey parents, I hope you found this episode helpful. If so, would you please take 30 seconds and share it with a friend who also lives or works with children? I would really appreciate it if you would leave a quick review for the show on Apple Podcasts. I read every review, and it lights me up to know that this show is making a difference. Then come join my Facebook community, where you'll meet other parents who are dedicated to helping their children grow too. You'll find the link in the show notes. Thank you for joining me. Now it's time to go. Let's pop our kiddos in the strollers and go look around outdoors and see what we have to talk about.